So, the topic we'll be discussing today is vaccination and immunization. There are certain general terminologies related to this topic. So, first of all, you need to know what is immunization and what is a vaccine. So, immunization is basically the process by which your body is going to produce the antibodies against a particular antigen, and that particular antigen would be a vaccine. As we know, we have got two types of immunity. We have got humoral immunity, if you're talking about the specific immunity, and we have got the cell mediated immunity. In humoral immunity, the cells that are responsible are the B cells, and in cell mediated, the cells responsible are the T cells. The B cells will get converted into plasma cells and they will be secreting the antibody. As for this, we have got the helper T cells and the other cells, so they'll be the mediators in this cell mediated immunity. So, what is immunization? The immunization is basically the process of developing an immune response by inoculating a specific antigen in the body. And as will be discussed later, this specific antigen is what we refer as the vaccine. So, it's in short, by giving the vaccine, you're developing the immune response, and that entire process, is the process of immunization. So, we have got two types of immunization. We have the passive and we have the active. As the name indicates, this is a passive process. So, what happens in which we'll be administering the preformed antibodies. For instance, there was a person who has had the disease, for instance, tetanus. In that person, the antibodies would be there. So what you're going to do, you will extract the antibodies from that person and you will administer those antibodies to another person. So you are actually administering the preformed antibodies. As for in active immunization, in which we will be administering a specific antigen of that infectious agent, in which, and then we'll allow the human body to elicit an immune response. So what happens in case of passive immunization, you can expect the immune response to be immediate, but the immunity lasts for some weeks to months and then it wanes with time. As in the case of the active immunization, the immune response is established after some time, but the immunity lasts longer. So this is a chart that differentiates the two types of immunization. The next thing that needs to be understood is herd immunity, is the concept of herd immunity. What is herd immunity? Herd immunity is said to have occurred, for instance, if there's a population of about 100 people and you vaccinate 95. So what you're doing is you are actually trying to create the herd immunity, so that what happens when those 95 people are vaccinated, you will prevent the transmission of the disease by vaccinating the majority of the people, so that the non-vaccinated people are also protected from the disease by not being vaccinated. So what you say is the herd immunity, it gets a bit more clearer when we see the definition. So it exists if the number of the people who are actively vaccinated, and this needs to be active vaccination, reaches a critical level such that the non-vaccinated people are also protected from the disease. Because when you are actually vaccinating 95 people, those 5 people will be protected, as there will be less transmission, less to no transmission, and those 5 people, if they are not even vaccinated, the transmission levels go very low, so that you are creating the herd immunity in this way. So what is a vaccine? As discussed previously, the vaccine is a specific protein that is similar to the infectious organism. For instance, if we have an organism that for which we are producing the vaccine, we identify the antigen, that is the portion which is responsible for the virulence of that organism. We extract it from the organism and then we inoculate that protein by first of all either inactivating it, killing it, inactivating it, which will be discussed later. We'll be inoculating it in the human body and then we'll wait for the immune response to be produced in the human body, and this process obviously is known as the immunization. So the immunity can be either antibody mediated or the cell mediated immunity, as was discussed previously. So we have got different types of vaccine. We have got live or attenuated vaccine. In this vaccine, what happens, the virulent organism is weakened. It's not killed, it's just weakened, such that it produces immunity without the risk of developing overt disease, which we would have expected if that particular organism has invaded the human body. So the examples of live or attenuated vaccine includes BCG, oral polio, measles, mumps, rubella, and the yellow fever. Remember, the live vaccines, they are contraindicated in pregnancy because pregnancy is a condition that is characterized by immunocompromised. It's a condition that is in which the immune system is a bit weakened, and we are actually giving a live organism, so there are chances that the body might be overwhelmed by the violent organism. So these live vaccines are contraindicated in pregnancy and as well as immunocompromised patients. Either they could be patients of cancer, AIDS, or other immunocompromised conditions. The other type of vaccine is basically a killed vaccine. So as the name indicates, what happens in which the infectious agent is inactivated means it's killed by heat, phenol, formaldehyde, or some other means. So over here we are actually inactivating that particular antigen. In the live vaccine, we are just weakening that particular agent. Over here we are killing it. Examples. So for your understanding and for your easiness, I've got a mnemonic for you, that is CHIRP. C for cholera, H for hepatitis A, I for influenza, rabies, pertussis, and polio injectable. So the oral polio was a live vaccine and the injectable polio is a killed vaccine. We have got toxoids. They are certain organisms which release an exotoxin, and that exotoxin is responsible for the virulence of that organism. So what happens over here, what we did was that we extracted that toxin from that organism and then we rendered it inactive, and then we inoculated that inactivated toxin into the human body. So that inactivated toxin is known as toxoid. So what is it? Vaccine in which the toxins from the infectious agent is rendered non-toxic by formaldehyde, but the antigenicity is maintained. So the examples over here, I've got a mnemonic for you, that is TED. T for tetanus and D for diphtheria. The other types of vaccine includes the conjugate vaccine. There are certain antigens that have got a certain antigens which have got a polysaccharide capsule, and that polysaccharide capsule, if inoculated, will actually result in reduced immune response. So in order to improve the immune response, we conjugate them with other antigens so that the immunological response is improved. So the polysaccharide vaccines, the antigens or the infectious agents which have got a polysaccharide capsule attached to them, we have got meningococcal, Haemophilus influenza type B, pneumococcal. Next we have the genetically engineered vaccine. So what happens, as the name indicates, we are engineering them. So what happens, this is a vaccine in which the plasmid that contains a specific DNA sequence of the antigen is used to elicit an immune response. And for this, the only genetically engineered vaccine that is licensed to be used in humans is hepatitis B. So now we'll be coming to the schedule that is usually followed, and this schedule includes both EPI and non-EPI, and at the end of the lecture we'll be discussing the EPI vaccines. So remember, as a rule, the bacterial vaccines are given on the right side and the viral on the left side. And one more thing that needs to be remembered is that in case of children, the intramuscular vaccines are given on the lateral side of the thigh and not on the buttocks, because we know that the area of the buttocks is the area where there is diaper, and that area is prone to developing contamination and infection. So we will be giving the vaccine on the anterolateral side of the thigh, and also that area, the gluteal region, is very vascular, so the vaccine is going to diffuse very quickly from that gluteal area. So the anterolateral side of the thigh is the preferred place while giving the vaccine to a child. So cold chain, this is a terminology that you will be encountering during the vaccine. This is something that we all know, that cold chain temperature, it's a temperature controlled supply chain, means from the time of the production till the inoculation, that particular temperature should be maintained. If that temperature is not maintained, what's going to happen is the efficacy of the vaccine will go down. So certain vaccines have got a cold temperature of 0 to 4 degrees centigrade and etc. So the vaccination schedule that is followed is, at birth we give 2 vaccines. We have got oral polio drops, and oral polio drops, as discussed earlier, it's live attenuated. You give 2 drops and the route is oral. So we have got 2 types of polio vaccines. One is oral and the other is killed. So the oral is also known as Sabin and the killed is also known as Salk. So child should be vaccinated even if he has had the disease. So remember, polio have got 3 strains: OPV 1, 2 and 3. Even if the child has had a disease, maybe he had the infection with 3. So in order to provide immunity against the other 2, you need to provide vaccination to that particular child to provide protection against the other 2 types of polio strains. Since it's a live vaccine, it's contraindicated in immunocompromised hosts. For instance, the child has got reduced immunity or AIDS, or if even the child has got immunocompromised household contact, like the child is living with a patient who has got cancer or other decreased immunity. The other one is BCG. The BCG, again, it's a live vaccine and it's given intradermal. It's given as 0.05 ml in newborn and 0.1 ml in other children. Remember, while giving the vaccine to other children, their BCG, the PPT test should be done. So in BCG vaccine, a weakened strain of Mycobacterium bovis is used. So when you will be giving the vaccine to a child, there will be a wheal, that is an area of redness, for 30 minutes. Afterwards, in 2 to 3 weeks, there will be an area of induration which might ulcerate. That will be converted into a nodule by 6 weeks, and it usually heals in 10 to 12 weeks with a scar. In a child who has already got tuberculosis, this process, all these induration, the nodule, will be taking a little bit earlier than this time period. So at 6, 10 and 14 weeks, you will be giving the pentavalent vaccine, and the mnemonic over here for your ease is DEP. D for diphtheria, P for pertussis, T for tetanus, H for Haemophilus influenza type B, and H for hepatitis B. The vaccine which is provided in Pakistan, the government vaccine, that's a pentavalent. As for, there is also a hexazyme vaccine, in which we have got the all pneumococcus included in this pentavalent. So it's sort of 6 things that are inside one. And then we'll have oral polio, that is also given in the 6th week. So the pentavalent vaccine, as talked about earlier, contains depth. So diphtheria and tetanus, both of them are toxoid, and both of them are given intramuscularly, and the dosage of them is 0.5 ml, again given on the anterolateral aspect of the thigh. The pertussis, it's a killed, it's given IM, and pertussis, there are certain contraindications to the use of pertussis. For instance, it's a whole cell vaccine. It's a whole cell vaccine and it's got many organisms in one cell. So pertussis is not to be given if the child has had convulsions within the 72 hours of DPT. For instance, you gave the child DPT on 6th week and the child has had convulsions within 72 hours. You won't be giving the child pertussis. However, you can give the child acellular pertussis. After 2 years of age, again, acellular pertussis can be used. And children with brain damage and history of convulsions, similarly, you can use the acellular pertussis. The Haemophilus influenza type B, it's a polysaccharide vaccine and it's given intramuscularly. This is one of those components of pentavalent vaccine, and the dose is 0.5 ml. Hepatitis B, it's a genetically engineered vaccine which is given IM, and the dose is 0.5 ml. So this is very important from the examination point of view, from the BCK and the MCQ point of view. For instance, if there is a condition in which the mother is hepatitis B surface antigen positive, what happens? When the child is born, you will be giving both the vaccine that contains the hepatitis B surface antigen plus the immunoglobulin, that is the antibodies against the hepatitis surface antigen. Both of them will be given at separate sites so that they don't neutralize each other if given on the similar sites. So we have got immunoglobulin and the vaccine given at separate sites within 12 hours, and the vaccine to be repeated after 1 month and then at age 6 months. This is a similar protocol which is followed in normal patients. That is, once you deliver the vaccine at 1 month, then after 1 month and then at the age of 6 months it's repeated, or after 5 months from the last dose. So what happens in case of the infants born to hepatitis B surface antigen, when they are provided with the immunoglobulin and vaccine, at 12 to 24 months you will be doing the antigen testing. So what happens if the anti-HBs, that is the antibody, is negative, get an hepatitis B surface antigen done. If it comes out to be positive, you consider the child a chronic carrier, as the child is antigen positive and the antibody negative. For instance, if the child is hepatitis B surface antigen negative but the antibody is positive, then we can say that immunization has been effective. And if what happens that the antibody and the antigen both are negative, this means that the vaccination series is to be repeated. That is, you will be giving the vaccine at first month, then 1 month later, and then 5 months later. So if another condition would be if the infants are born to the mother with unknown hepatitis B surface antigen status. So what you need to do is know the status of the mother hepatitis B surface antigen level, and if the mother is positive, then give immunoglobulin within 7 days. If the mother is negative, then you will be following the similar protocol, that is giving the hepatitis B surface antigen on 6th, 10th and 14th week. 9 months. So at the 9 months, we will be giving measles vaccine, which is a live vaccine, and this is one of those vaccines that is given sub-Q. The dose is 0.5 ml, and the second dose will be given at 15 months. Sometimes mumps and rubella is also given with measles, but that's not included in the EPI program. In the EPI program, we give the measles. So the contraindications, it's a live vaccine. So if there is a known immunodeficiency in the child, or in case if the mother is pregnant, you cannot give the live vaccine. But if the child is brought within 72 hours of exposure, for instance, if the child has had contact with another child who has had measles, so if the child is brought within 72 hours, so then the vaccine is preferred. And if within 6 days, then you will be giving immunoglobulin, and that immunoglobulin is basically given to modify the disease course, that is reduce the severity of the disease, the severity of the maculopapular rash, and the complications as a result of the measles. So we have got varicella. The varicella protective against the varicella zoster virus, the virus that causes chickenpox as well as shingles. So varicella is given at 12 months when the child is 1 year of age, on his or her birthday. So this type of vaccine is live attenuated, and it's given by a sub-Q route, and the second dose is repeated 4 weeks after the first dose. The hepatitis A, again, the type is a kill vaccine, and the route is basically intramuscular. The second dose is given 6 to 12 months after the first dose. 6 or 12 months. So we have got 2 doses, and the second dose will be given 6 or 12 months after the first dose. The other one is the rotavirus. The one that is basically given, rotavirus is basically the virus that is one of the causes of causing diarrhea. So the route is basically oral. And remember one thing, there were previous vaccines that were associated with intussusception, but now the different vaccines are created which have got lesser risks of intussusception. So this risk is very much reduced with the advancement and with the introduction of newer vaccines. So it's given at 6 weeks and then repeated at 10 weeks. So we have got 2 doses of rotavirus. The influenza vaccine, influenza, as we all know, that it's given yearly, as we have got different strains and it changes every year. So we have got influenza vaccine. So it's usually given to those adults and children who have got some of chronic diseases. You can give the child who has got cystic fibrosis, because this influenza will be worsening the condition of the child who is already very much ill. So one more thing, so this is given yearly and this needs to be repeated yearly. So this is a split vaccine, in which what happens, split vaccine is a vaccine in which we use a detergent to inactivate the virus. So we have got 2 injections and they are given 4 weeks apart, and that's usually given after 6 months to 3 years. So if you are giving after that started after 6 months until the 3 years, 2 injections are given. But if the child is more than 3 years old, we will be giving only a single injection. So in case of typhoid, again, the causative organism Salmonella typhi, and that will be causing typhoid. Typhoid is again one of those diseases that is associated with a lot of complications. So over here we will be having 3 different types of vaccines associated with typhoid. We have got the inactivated bacterial vaccine, we have got Typhoon V1, and the third one is oral live attenuated. So there are certain differences between these 3. The inactivated is given after the age of 2 years. Similarly, Typhoon is also given after the age of 2 years, and oral is given 6 years and usually after 6 years and in adults. The inactivated is given via the subcutaneous route. The Typhoon is given intramuscularly, and the oral, as the name indicates, it's given orally. So in the inactivated bacterial vaccines, you will be giving 2 doses after 2 years, for instance, and they're given 4 weeks apart. Typhoon 1 is a single dose that can be given after the age of 2 years. And in case of the oral live attenuated, we have got oral capsules, that is we have got 3 capsules, and it's given every other day, that is you will be omitting one day and on the second day you will be taking the capsule. So we'll be using the booster doses for each of these vaccines. For the inactivated, the booster is given every 1 to 2 years. For the typhoon, the booster is given every 3 years, and for the oral live attenuated, the booster is given every 5 years. So the rabies vaccine, the one that causes rabies by the bite of a rodent or a dog. To rabies, we have got the human diploid cell vaccine, and the type of the vaccine is basically killed. The route with which it's given is basically intramuscular or intradermal. For instance, if there are certain people who have got occupations in which there is the risk of the rabies is high, we will be vaccinating them primarily. So the vaccine will be given on the day 0, 7, 21 or 28th day. Post-exposure prophylaxis is given once the person has been bitten by an animal who is said to be a carrier of rabies. So for that, you will be giving 5 doses of human diploid cell vaccine on day 0, 3, 7, 14 and 28, as well as the immunoglobulin is also given over here. So half of the immunoglobulin will be given around the wound, and the remaining one will be given IM. So the EPI schedule that was followed in Pakistan, so this is the expanded program on immunization, was basically started in 1978, and it vaccinates children, so it targets the children between the ages of 0 to 15 months. So till 15 months you will be giving the vaccine to those children. At birth, over here, the BCG and the oral polio, that's a 0 dose of polio, is given. At 6 weeks, again, the OPV, Penta and the Pneumo is given. At 10 weeks, we have got the OPV2, Penta 2, Pneumo 2. 14 weeks, again, the third dose of polio virus, Penta 3, Pneumo 3. 9 months, you will be giving the first dose of measles, and at 15 months, you will be giving the second dose of measles. So this concludes our discussion of vaccination and immunization.